Hi, I'm Dr. Corey Block. This is Business is Personal. Welcome back. I want to introduce you to my guests. Today we're talking about social media and its influence on business. So with me today is Guido Mercati. He is the Regional Director of Digital and Social Media at Leo Burnett. And Naomi D'Souza, who's one of the UAE's strongest influencers, and she's got a blog of how many millions of, you have like 77,000 followers.
I wish it was a million.
Well, it's getting there. But why don't you introduce us a little bit to your to what you do.
My name is Naomi D'Souza. I'm actually a mechanical engineer. That's my background.
Wow.
Did my master's in mechanical engineering as well, after which I joined IBM as a digital strategy consultant. After which I started my blog as well. I started when I was studying mechanical engineering, and it just picked up recently. I post a lot about food, lifestyle, travel, interesting content for people to see and relate to. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant. I'm Guido. I'm Italian, clearly. Traveled the world for the last 15 years, always in multinational advertising digital company. Now leading a great group of people interested in shifting the agenda more towards digital, social media and business transformation and data-driven creativity in the region. There are great companies, great entrepreneurs, lots of fantastic creators and influencers. The region is booming on digital, so exciting to be here.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, we've got at least 3 topics on the table now.
Yeah.
Let's start with influencers, because that's where that's your field, Naomi. I did some legal work this year with Daniel Wellington. Daniel Wellington is a watch manufacturer from Sweden. They're amazing at what they do. Yeah, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the pioneers in this region of influencer marketing in terms of a real product. They have such an incredible social media machine.
Yeah.
So you've worked with them before, right?
Yes,
so companies like that are increasingly turning toward influencers for marketing. Where do you think those companies can use influencers like yourself best? How can they better engage with you?
So what I have seen on Daniel Wellington's page, unlike other watch brands, like usually watch brands, they just probably put a flat lay on top and they just take a picture. But what I love about Daniel Wellington is they're putting lifestyle imagery. So people who are on top of mountains, even if the watch is like this tiny, but like they tag, that's a Daniel Wellington watch to show durability and reliability wherever you are, if it's in the mountains or on the water, on the sea, you're still wearing the Daniel Wellington. So I think I've seen, like, off late, they're targeting influencers like every other influencer in UAE. You don't have to be a micro influencer. You don't need to be super popular. I mean, I've seen influencers with about just 4,000, 5,000 followers promoting them, and even Kendall Jenner, because I think she became the brand ambassador for Daniel Wellington. So I think, I don't know if they're doing it too much though.
Right.
That's because every other influencer has a code. Use my code and you get a discount and you can buy the watch.
Right.
Until date, I have my followers asking me, do you still have the Daniel Wellington code? So, it's, I don't know if it's overdone or whether it should just be toned down.
Is it possible to overdo social media marketing?
It is because this is a massive debate, by the way, with all our clients. We work with massive multinationals and small companies. And the frequency and the pace of your posting activity, it's always a big debate. So, and now I see the shift on posting less, reducing the frequency, probably once a week, quality posting, and try to get a well-defined reach. So, for instance, that's a shift also in influencer marketing towards micro-influencers. So, you want to tackle the niches, you want to have precise, laser-precise reach, and not having this broad impression approach. So of course you're interested in eyeballs, but you want the right eyeballs.
Right.
So this is one of the key things.
But I think they should even choose a small number of people, because if everyone is doing it, your exclusivity is lost. Because for example, UAE, as I mentioned, the influencer versus the population ratio is like so off, because there's so many influencers out there. If I go to my balcony and shout, who's an influencer? Like at least 9 in 10 hands would probably go up, because they're like, I can influence people, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I feel if you target so many, the exclusivity of the brand is lost if it's too many.
I think that's a great point, because we need to also, there was an initial infatuation with the concept of, you know, starting conversing with people on a more direct basis, particularly big brands, they needed this, you know, it was a reputational need. At one point in time, you know, you also need to get the ROI right, and you need to have a return on investment. You need to see this influence coming in place. You want the transaction to be closed. That's why the codes, the voucher code is becoming a litmus test of the influence.
That's the only time you can track.
That's right. That's how you measure the value.
Totally.
Right.
But then the only challenge with that is, from my point of view as an influencer, sometimes the code works, sometimes it doesn't, because it depends how good the deal is. Because sometimes it's like I'm trying to sell a bag worth 15,000 dirhams, and the code will just give you 10% off.
Right.
So who's going to purchase that? I think it's more about affordability now, you know, and relatability. So if it's something that's super expensive and you give a code, guys, no one's gonna get it.
Totally.
How much will you?
True. But I think there is still this need for brands and people that make the big investment into checking where this money are going, and if this influence is coming aside. So I think there is also a focus on content quality as well. More and more, you know, the freedom of the influencer or the creator is shrinking towards the necessity of the brand to sort of plug in certain aspects of their identity. So in terms of tone of voice as well, particularly on I don't know if can I mention my clients? Is that something you would do?
It's up to you.
You mentioned Daniel Welling.
Yeah, I mentioned my clients. Business is personal to me, so
fantastic.
All of my clients.
Fantastic. I would say big FMCG brands. At times they struggle in the way people consume their product, because people are creative, and we all have a different way to consume a chocolate spread, for instance, or a certain cheese. And brands are becoming more and more reluctant to leave total freedom in creation of the content. This is, in a way, crippling the conversation, because clearly people is very well trained now to spot where advertising is. And that's the other point, is influence marketing pure content and sheer engagement, or it's a form of native advertising that becoming more and more direct to consumer, and people is recognizing this.
So then what would you say are the influential criteria for good content?
I would say respect your audience and content first. So if you have a certain editorial guideline, you need to stick to it, and you need to be true to your nature, the nature of your channel, and the objective that you want to achieve as a publisher. And then the brands need to find their place into your narrative, and if they collide, perfect. If they don't try to squash a good amount of money into it.
The only thing that's odd from there is that I've seen a food blogger, and she got approached by a paint company, like Wall Paints, and obviously they have hundreds of colors as per hex codes. So she is a food blogger, so she tried to incorporate the same food items with that paint.
Wow.
So it's like lavender is the color of the month, and her plate would include a lot of lavender tone.
It's like a plate palette.
How do you find this?
I was quite curious and shocked at that time whether is it good that she is doing that, because it's connecting to the color and the tones of lavender, or is it odd that she's a food blogger and she's promoting paint?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, it's a really good question.
So I feel in terms of creating content creation and the influence that you have in the market.
The more associations you can make in the mind of the consumer, the better chance it is that they're going to think of you when it's the time
to make a purchasing decision. But it was also super creative. I mean, who would have like...
It can be. If the consumer, to me, the direct response is go on the feed and see the comments. And normally this is spot in 5 seconds. We ended up oftentimes with campaigns or posts or videos in which 2 minutes after we post, we need to retract it or we need to reconsider it, because the reaction are unexpected. At times, people spot the fact that the narrative or the flow of the execution of the video is not natural or doesn't reflect the character that we try to portray. So we can squeeze advertising into content creation. To me, there is a definition, I'm fighting for this as well in my group. Creative and content. Creative is what we want people to see. Content is what people want to see. And there is a major difference. It's a brand first approach versus a consumer or user first approach. It's about creating narratives that are out there because this conversation are happening, better than try to impose my point of view as a company because I need to pitch for this USP and this is what you need to buy.
I mean, as influencers, I think it's best